Hello and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing okay. I will be talking about all the books I got in the first quarter of 2023. So the books I got from January through March. March hasn't quite finished yet, but I'm not planning on buying any more books this month. Although there is a possibility I might get some more books, but I'll get to that later. I thought I'd start with the ebooks I got first. I've mentioned before on here that I have a subscription to a Dutch indie publisher where for €50 a year I get all their publications in ebook. They also publish the Months series that I've been talking about as well. I got Februari by Hoop van Essen, which I have DNF'd since, and also Maart by Saskia, which I read recently and really enjoyed. At the time of filming this, I haven't got the April book yet, so that's one book that I will be getting as well. And then the other books I got from them were Geluk by Tove Ditlevsen, which is a short story collection. I think it's been translated in English as well. I believe the title is The Trouble of Happiness or something like that. I am buddy reading this with Suze over Suze Reads Books on Instagram. It's a mixed bag of stories, but I think the ones that we liked are really excellent. So I'm enjoying reading that with her. And then the other book I also got from Das Mag, the publisher, is All I Am by Sam Bettens, which is a memoir by the lead singer of the band Case Joyce, who is also a trans man. I listened a lot to this band when I was a teenager, and it'll be interesting to hear his experience coming out as a trans man at a later point in life. One of the books I got in January was sent to me by the publishers. This is Carlota by Kristien Dieltiens, and this book is about Charlotte of Belgium. She was the daughter of King Leopold I of Belgium, and according to the family tree, she was also the sister-in-law of Sissy. And from what I gathered, this is about this woman who sort of struggles with her sense of duty as a part of the royal family, but also has some mental health issues. I don't know much more about that, but it sounded really fascinating. In January I also got Middlemarch by George Eliot. Middlemarch is one of those classics that I'd always wanted to read, and I am slowly making my way through it. I am pretty much exactly halfway, and I'm having a good old time with it. Then I also got Genderqueer by Maia Kobabe. I picked this up because it fitted a few of the reading challenges I'm doing this year. It is a graphic memoir about the author coming out as non-binary and asexual, and I think especially now, but always, it is important to support authors and stories that are genderqueer. Then I got a bunch of books I'm reading for the BookTube prize. I tried to get as many of them from the library, but they weren't all available. One of them I had to get on ebook, which was the English Understand Wall by Helen DeWitt. I've also read Afterlives by Abdulrazak Gurnah, The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell I still have to read, and then maybe I'll have to buy Lessons by Ian McEwan as well. I have it reserved from the library, but the system doesn't show you how long the queue is for a certain book, so I can see like when a book is due back, but then I don't know if anyone else is in the queue before me. It's a bit weird how that works, but there we go. Then I also got Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I bought this because we will be reading this with a book club. This is obviously a book that has been very hyped on the bookish internet, and for some reason, which is absolutely grounded in nothing at all, I have a feeling that this is going to be one of those books that everybody loves, but I don't. I just don't know where I base it on. It's just like a feeling. So it is quite possible that I have to eat my words once I've read this book. I've never been very interested in gaming, so nor was I as a child, so I think that whole culture sort of passes me by. But yeah, it might still surprise me. I'm just going in it with an open mind, and I do think it'll be fun to discuss this book with other people. And then the last part of this book haul will be the books I got for Dutch Book Week. We are in the middle of Dutch Book Week right now, which is an event that happens every year around the middle of March. That is created to promote Dutch language books and celebrate book buying and bookshops and all that. And one of the important parts of Dutch Book Week is the Book Week gift, which is a little book that you get as a present whenever you buy a book in the Dutch language. And this could be fiction books, it could be non-fiction books, as long as it is in the Dutch language. Obviously the week always has a focus on Dutch and Flemish literature, but translated fiction is fine too, as long as it's translated into Dutch and as long as you are reading and buying books. Anyway, the Book Week gift for this year is the Eerlijke Vinder by Lize Spit. Lize Spit is a Belgian author who has written 2 novels. First has also been translated into English. I think the English title is called The Melting, if I have that right. I haven't read that, but I have read her second novel, which I really liked, and if that ever gets translated into English, you will hear about it. I haven't really heard what this book is about yet, but I am looking forward to reading it. It might be a good one for shorty September, because the Book Week gifts are always really tiny. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into this. I also got the Book Week essay, which is another thing that is part of the Book Week, that an author gets asked to write an essay on a certain topic. This is Boto Banja by Raoul de Jong, and I think this explores the topic of slavery in the Dutch colonies, which sounds really interesting as well. And then I got 5 more novels. I asked on Instagram for recommendations, so a few of these I got on the recommendation of my fellow Dutch bookstagrammers, and some of these I picked up myself. And they are, the first one is called Diepdiepblauw by Nikki Dekker. The title translates as Deep Blue. I know very little about this book other than that it is a debut novel. It has some queer elements to it, and it has come highly recommended. So I'm very much looking forward to just diving into this blindly. I got Margriete by Kathleen Vereken, and Margriete is a name of the sister of the Van Eyck brothers, who were famous painters. And I think it centers around one of the paintings. I'll try and find a picture of one of the paintings and sort of the story behind that. So yeah, this is a historical fiction book set, I think, around the 1400s. But the topic sounded really fascinating. So I'm also looking forward to diving into this one. This is the book I just picked up because it sounded interesting. I hadn't heard of it before. This is Kwallen, Hebben, Geen, Oren by Adèle Rosenfeld. The title translates as Jellyfish Don't Have Ears. and this is translated from the French. This is about a young woman who is hard of hearing, but then at a doctor's visit it turns out that her hearing is getting worse and worse, and she will probably become completely deaf, and the doctors recommend she'd get a cochlear implant. And I think this book is about the decision she has to make, whether she would get an implant or whether she would become completely deaf and communicate with sign language and lip reading. And in the meantime, she is obviously losing more of her hearing, and she has more trouble communicating with other people, understanding other people, and she sort of uses her imaginations to fill in the gaps of the words she's missing, and that sort of creates this whole different world. So I think it has a touch of magical realism in there. So yeah, I thought this book had some really great potential. And then the last two books I want to talk about today are books that have also been translated into English. This is Verboden Schrift by Alba de Cespedes. I obviously should have checked how to pronounce these authors' names, but I didn't, so excuse me. This is also translated into English as The Forbidden Notebook, and this is a book that I would have never picked up based on the cover and the title of the book, but because so many people have been recommending it, I did pick it up. I don't know much about this book other than people say it is a forgotten hidden gem from the 50s, translated from the Italian, with a lot of feminist themes in it. I've seen it compared to A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. So yeah, I didn't really need to know more to pick up this book. I love a modern classic, and the fact that it is translated and about feminism, that just makes me want to pick up all the more. And then the last book I've got is Slechts in Diefstal by Ann-Helén Laestadius. Again, I'm sorry if I'm not getting the author's name right. This is translated from the Swedish, and it's also been translated into English. The English title is Stolen. The author is of Sami heritage, which are the indigenous people of Scandinavia. You can see her, she's wearing Sami clothing, and I think the exploration of the Sami heritage plays a big role in this book. It's a coming of age story of a young girl growing up in the Sami community at a time where the racism and threats against their community are very much prevalent. I've never read any books on the Sami people, and this book sounds really, really excellent. So I'm glad I caught my eye in the bookstore. So those were all the books I got in the first 3 months of 2023. They were 18 books in total, which is a bit more than I planned to get, especially because I'm trying to get my TBR down a little bit this year. But on the other hand, I am really excited by all of these books, so that's never a bad thing, is it? If you have any positive thoughts on any of the books, then please leave them down below. If you haven't enjoyed them so much, then please refrain from commenting until I have read them, so it doesn't take away my excitement for the books. Also, if you are interested in reading any of these books with me that I haven't read yet, then let me know, because I am always interested in doing buddy reads with any of you. And yeah, that's it for today. Hope you're well, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.